And good evening, everyone. It is 6:38 p.m. and I am calling the Manhattan Community Board 9, Same Gender Living LGBTQ Task Force meeting to order. Second. Minutes, do we have minutes?
I think I might have sent them out for the December meeting.
Okay.
Because there was no December meeting, I think I sent out in November.
Okay.
I don't know if we have them on hand.
I don't think so. So we'll table the minutes.
Yeah.
Public session. We have joining us, our most estimable community leader, Ms. Carmen Neely of Harlem Pride, joining us.
Yeah.
She's my dear friend and collaborator. And on what business are you joining us this evening? You should unmute.
Regular business, because I'm a part of the task force.
Yes, you are.
I know the last meeting was rescheduled. I missed the one before, but I was in the others. And then just to update everybody on our plans for Harlem Pride 2025.
Yes.
And also a brief update about the center, Harlem Center. Although that's
So why don't you share those with us? The
okay.
update.
Well, the center should definitely open this year. We thought that it would open in November, but we just had some delays and then the holidays came. So paperwork and whatnot being as it is, and a little bit of bureaucracy, just got to be patient through those things. But we feel like we can definitely open, if not in the summer, then definitely by the end of the third quarter. And hopefully we can stick to that. But, variables come in that we can't always control, but we're definitely moving forward a bit faster. And given that a lot of the team is cross, like John Martin Green is on the team, and there's a lot of cross-pollination between Harlem Pride staff and then other community leaders, we've decided this year that Harlem Pride would just be the big Saturday celebration day, so we could focus on that. And then those events that we typically have separately from the separate celebration day, like the Legacy of Pride Awards, which I always like to note was started by Dr. Green here. That was his idea and something we carried with us ever since when he was on our Harlem Pride board. So the Legacy of Pride, our youth event, our senior event, and our trans events, we're going to intertwine them into our regular day by having separate tents for the youth, for the trans, and the seniors with curated things that people can stop by no matter what time they come. At first, we thought we'd schedule things, and we thought that's kind of rough for a 6-hour time period when people like to leisurely come through. So we're going to have things specifically for those members of our target audiences. And then the Legacy of Pride will be on the main stage. So we're going to incorporate that, and it makes it a little easier for our planning and takes a little bit off the shoulders of everybody who's already stretched a little thin between the center and Pride. So we're looking forward to that. And then, depending on how the center progresses, maybe one of the main events, if it is in June, will be a series of tours so the community can see what it looks like. And maybe some hard hat tours. We'll see how far along we are by the time June comes along.
Very fine.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Where is the center located?
Technically, it's CB10.
Okay.
Yeah, so it will be on 125th now in the National Urban League building.
Oh, where they're relocating to. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And just let me ask a second question. Are you guys, because I'm on that board, are you doing anything with the 125th Street bid or as related to Right?
Not yet,
Okay,
Right, not yet. Right now, we're focusing so much, right, John Martin, on just getting the center open. There's a lot of paperwork between us and the state, particularly since we got the grant, the $4.4 million grant. And then there's a lot of other paperwork with the developers in the city. So right now, we're not so much trying to branch out and bring in additional collaborations until we're fully open. We just
There's no money,
capacity
no
wise,
capacity, right?
right, just can't quite handle it right now.
Right.
the lift now, the focus is
Get the space
getting
open,
the space up and running.
right,
Yeah,
I can appreciate that.
yeah. Thank you, Carmen.
You're
Um,
welcome. Thank you all. If there are any more questions? No? Okay.
Not yet, at least. We're going to shift the order of our agenda as our community partner, Ariel Stella Holbrook Smith of Harlem Health Initiative, the CUNY School of Public Health partner in our Community Needs Assessment Survey will not be joining us until 7 or a little after. So we will first look at our planning for the Parish is Burning community engagement screening and talk back. Where, or around which, I should say, we have booked a space at the Forum, Columbia University, room 315, which capacity is 55 people. And
Is that's the capacity for the configuration that we'll have it in, or this, for the standing room only capacity?
we haven't decided on the configuration yet. In fact, we've a walkthrough of the space scheduled for the 14th.
Okay.
Which if you'd like to, if you're available and would like to join, actually, it's in the middle of the day, so you probably couldn't. But in any event, you know, we will determine the configuration at that point. Did we use 315? No, we used 301.
For the auditor event?
And also for the Scotty and the History of Hollywood.
No, that was in the foyer.
Was it?
Yeah, that was a much bigger space.
Okay, which Chris is proposing that we may require.
I just think 50, so I was looking at online and the capacity seated is 55. My intuitive sense is it's a low number, but there's other options. So if you get RSVPs that indicate you're 100,
We will ask
adjust
for,
accordingly.
or ask to shift
Yes.
to a larger space. I like the way you think. Along several lines.
Right.
Does Columbia think that way though? Because
Um,
in the past, they might not have been as amenable to last minute changes.
They have not been amenable to, you're absolutely right. That said, and I like to think that at this juncture, we have we cultivated relationships with Stephanie Reyes, who manages the space,
Right,
and
right.
Phoebe Sade Arnold, who books the spaces. Convivial relationships, such that I would like to think that should we need to shift and something else I'm thinking that Chris and I started talking about a little while ago is that something that we should do in the weeks leading up to the screening is build like an Eventbrite so that we can track RSVPs.
We have that.
We do already? You already
I
did?
sent it to you.
He's too smart and too fast, and I'm too slow, but that's okay, because he's not. Okay, so with the Eventbrite, we'll be able to know
Right,
Yeah,
if the numbers would seem to indicate
right.
a request for a larger space.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and hopefully, if our marketing is sharp enough and including word of mouth
Right.
and other kinds of outreach, is strong enough, we'll know at least a month in advance whether or not, or what kinds of numbers we might be able to look forward to. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Along those lines, you are aligned, Somali, with some organizations at CCNY?
Yeah, so I graduated like 2 years ago, but
Belated,
my friends.
belated congratulations.
thanks, still go there, so, and they are like a big part of like the affinity space.
Uh-huh.
Affinity space. And then my cousin is also online, is at Columbia right now, and they're also aligned with Black Queer Affinity Spaces at Columbia.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Hello. Hi, I'm Maya.
Hi.
Off the camera. Nice to meet you all. I wish I could be there in person, but
Oh, is this
yes. Hello.
Maya?
Hi, Maya.
Maya, yes. Hi.
Welcome.
Hi, Maya.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. Okay.
It just, I mean, you'll figure it out, but when you flyer this thing, I just see 55 as a small number. Because you have Columbia, CCNY, the community, Link NYC, I assume, right?
We haven't talked.
We haven't done Link NYC, but that's,
Yeah. And gotta imagine, even from just the discussion at the board level, it's gotta be about 10 folks from the board. This thing seems to resonate.
again, I like the way you think. Now, mind you, our history is such that, well, in this configuration of the task force with, Clayton and I leading it, we've only done one event where the numbers exceeded 55. And that was the Audre Lorde, the celebration of literary, legacy, the activist literary legacy of Audre Lorde. We had probably like 65 or 70 people over the course of the evening. Did you come? You didn't even come.
No, sorry.
It was powerful. It was wonderful. So again,
Right, you won't know until you know.
yeah, I hope you are right.
Right, yeah, let's see if we can on this.
Yeah, I look forward to being short-sighted in this. Okay, so other, preparations for the event. We're talking about screening the film, which is about 90 minutes, and doing, an intergenerational, talk back, including, old school, and contemporary house and ballroom community, members. And along those lines, I have reached out to Junior LaBeija, Michael Roberson. I haven't reached out to one of our old Black and Latino LGBTQ coalition cohorts, Lee Soldier, but I guess I will, to ask about young, current, contemporary ballroom and house community members. Might you have ties, Jenny?
So this is that thing,
No.
yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
I attended a party over for New Year's and I mentioned this and the guy jumped up and said he was active in the current ballroom scene. I will get the contact information.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you got his information?
I will get that information for you.
All right. One,
Which one is this? No, I'm at the wrong one.
Are you looking for cannabis?
Yeah.
I don't know if they're meeting this evening, but Yutha is in the room next door.
She is?
Yes.
Sorry about that.
You may just have to buzz when he says call. Yeah.
Um. Okay, so, we're gonna line up a panel. And a small panel, 3, 4 max. Two, maybe 2 young and 2 elder ballroom, house and ballroom community, people to discuss, the culture and, the culture's impact on the larger culture. Yeah. Towards both destigmatizing and empowering them. House and ball folk,
Right.
those facets of our community. And, educating and building community with the larger surrounding community. Hopefully, those are our ends inside. And we should probably, what, food?
Yeah. The food we had at the Audrey Lord event was incredible. Those Melba dishes.
Yeah, it was also expensive.
You catered from Melbourne?
We did, and people were very happy.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they were. I'm sure they were.
Well, do you know what type of budget we have for food?
Well, it depends again on our numbers.
Yeah.
But I know, the max would be 600.
Okay.
Yeah,
And how much did we spend last time?
600.
Okay,
Yeah.
do it again. Unless there are other suggestions.
Yeah.
So we have medical nuts opening up on 143rd and Broadway. They should be open probably by the time you guys are ready. They have 2 other locations, one on 168. It's Dominican rotisserie chicken.
Uh-huh.
I think that would be so I have a relationship with one of the owners.
Uh-huh.
My only concern would be the timing. Will they make your March day? They look like they're well underway right now.
Mhm.
And if not, it would be Melba, but I think 600 might go a little bit further with them based on my past experiences.
Uh-huh. And what do you make of their cuisine?
It's rotisserie chicken. It's kind of in that family, rotisserie chicken, beans, rice. Yeah.
Do they pander to the vegetarian types or no?
So the way they deal with vegetarians is just take out all the meat. So it's beans, rice, you've got everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, that's a thought.
Yeah.
Good.
it's a thought. I put it on the table.
Absolutely. Thank you, and thank you. Okay, so up to the moment, that's where we are. We have a venue, we have a date, which is Thursday, March 6th, the first Thursday of March. Earlier this week, recognizing, that we are as likely as not to start right at 6:30.
Roy, you have a security issue already?
Not necessarily. What I'm thinking about though is, if we don't start screening the film until 6:45 or so, we will require, we don't need to do an hour-long talk back.
Right.
But we want to do at least 35, 40 minutes, I'm thinking. Should the conversation be scintillating, certainly. So I called and asked, first I emailed and asked, I should say, if we could extend the time.
Right. So I was thinking,
And they said we could have it until 9:30.
oh, excellent.
Which is even later than the community board gets it done,
Right, because we were booted at
9 o'clock,
Yeah.
which I like.
Yeah.
So
So that
this,
gives you plenty of overrun time.
yes.
Yeah, good for you.
People
Right.
arrive at 6:30, we screen the film 6:45 to 8:15. Then that gives us 45 minutes to discuss and 20
Yes.
minutes to not shut up or not to work.
And, right, also, and people can nosh
Yeah,
as,
Right.
you know, as we dialogue. Yeah,
yeah.
make sense?
Would you do like open mic for the intergenerational like panel, or would you do like curated list of questions?
I would do a curated list of questions, a guided talking circle. That's designed to, elicit the community's intelligence
Yeah,
around the issues.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, surrounding
yeah,
house and Baldwin community, including issues, having to do with socioeconomic status, homelessness,
absolutely.
you know, the reasons for houses
Yeah,
to have been created and to exist even yet. You know, that have to do with health disparities and all kinds of stuff.
yeah,
Yeah. So that we can support, shifts in people's awareness, you know, information, maybe attitudes, you know. Ostensibly, hopefully, that's the intention, certainly. Okay,
You talked about next steps.
Yes.
What needs to be done.
yes, thank you.
Can I pitch one thought? So we've had some success with this on other events, like using some type of telephone number, like the Google Voice or something that folks can text to in order to capture their information. It could be a QR code, obviously, but even a number that you can just throw up, maybe connecting to a form, Google form, where you can capture name, address, email address. Because you're gonna have a lot of folks, I just came from City Center this weekend and they're kind of phasing out playbills. So now as you go into the theater, you have to capture the QR code, but there are so many people going by the stand that has it. A lot of folks don't do it. So you want to capture everyone who attends the event.
Ah,
Do you see my point to
I,
this? Yeah.
okay, I was wondering, I was saying, during the event, okay, so you mean in terms of,
Yeah, if they're there, they have plenty of time to say, I'm interested in what you're doing and here's my name, or to use their cell number to text back afterwards or something, you know,
as sort of a sign-in sheet.
correct.
Is that something you'd be able to set up?
You know, so, yeah, I mean, pulling the Google Voice number should not be that difficult. So we allowed you to text into Google Voice and then we text you back with a Google Forms link.
Oh,
The cool thing about the link is it goes right into a spreadsheet of name, whatever information you guys want to gather. Very easy to manage.
And again, to Clayton's very good question, you'd be able to set that up?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I didn't hear that part. Look at Clayton saying, yeah. Clayton, I see your plate is kind of empty there, my man.
I made the picture.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we can definitely get that set up, yeah.
Great,
Cause I would hate to see people attend and they walk out
and
without.
us not having
Yeah.
captured their information. They're
Which
kind of-
also reminds me that when we're contact, we should email everyone who attended the audit, or everyone who signed up for the Audre Lorde event, to
Mhm.
have that information available.
Yeah,
Yes. Right, we should blast them, the flyer. Oh, and on the flyer, we can change the time now from 6:30 to what, 9
Oh, yeah, yeah.
or 9, yeah.
Yeah.
To be on the safe side, say 6:30 to 9, and know that we have the extra half hour.
I'm just gonna, you're having a conversation with Brosis at some point, I assume,
With,
Brotherhood and Sister Souls.
yes,
So that could be part of your street team to get flyers out. I see Shin Yun all over the place, regardless of the New York Times article. So,
We can get Falun Gong to.
yeah, and you know that it's been $260 million. Wow.
yeah.
So maybe that's something they could flyer stores, they have capacity, maybe.
okay.
So when you chat with them,
That
that could be your ask,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And furthermore, all right, Other next steps?
So I guess the other thing, some of the other things in marketing, so we have the flyer, we can contact Akil about, the.
Marketing to CB9.
We get my seat, yeah.
Ah,
And then I think we should go to speak at the board meeting and then follow up the board meeting with email to everyone.
okay.
Would you put it in front of like other kind of adjacent boards, like maybe arts or culture as well?
You mean other committees?
Yeah, other like.
Yeah.
Community groups, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like super.
Oh,
relevant.
what, other community board?
Yeah,
Cause we could do that too.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
Hey,
BB10 like doesn't have, an LGBTQ task force or committee.
they don't. In fact, well, in the first, LGBTQ task force was community board 10.
Oh,
And Carmen, Manny Rivera and I started that task force back in 2016, I think it was. Was it 2015 or 2016, Carmen?
The end of 2015 was that big town hall.
Yes, we did a town hall that launched, the first LGBTQ task force in New York City Council history.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they don't have one now. But, as I understand, what's Marquis' last name? Carmen,
Harris,
say again?
Harris or Harrison?
Harrison, yes. Marquis Harrison is same gender level. And so I think he would be amenable. And he's someone who we are also talking with about, partnering with us around the community needs assessment,
yeah.
which might be a good segue.
Mhm.
Yeah. But what else were you thinking about?
I think the other suggestion we seem to have was like, contact committee chairs, arts and culture and the like, and see if they could use their network. Is that part of the suggestion also?
Yeah.
You just spread the word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I think, if you contact the CUNY and Maya's contacts through Columbia,
Mhm.
I also have like some contacts left with Columbia. Basically just the engineering LGBTQ group. What else? Then I guess we could do flyering from Brother and Sister Soul. Email all the Logic Word attendees. That seems fairly comprehensive. We'll contact Amir. You could get everything.
The mayor?
Amir was our.
He was on the task force.
Oh, I think you said the mayor. I was
The
like,
mayor.
and good luck with
I
that.
was like,
Yeah.
What now?
oh.
And a CBO I ran some years ago called Black Men's Exchange New York. Eric Adams came and did a dialogue with us on who are the Nat Turners among us.
I think he would be happy to attend, but in terms of what's on his plate right now, for him to miss MLK, yeah,
He missed it, didn't he?
he did. He attended the inauguration.
Oh, well, so he's looking for, okay. Fancy that.
Can't see that.
Why?
Most interesting.
That's a choice.
Yeah.
Maybe we just get a few commitments to who people to contact. Like I'm happy to take the lead on contacting PL and contacting the other board members.
Okay, good.
So I can ask him also and get my idea about a question board. I can also contact arts and culture unless you'd like to do that.
I'll do arts and culture.
Okay.
Would you be inclined to reach out to, what is it, 7? What's below 9 is 7, right? On the Upper West Side,
Oh, yes.
CB7?
Yeah, I think so. We've already talked with, Victor, Edwards, who's chair of CB9, about, coordinating, well, actually, no, this is about the needs assessment. So, yeah, we can talk with maybe Marquis about some outreach in CB10. Yeah, I'll reach out. Now, see, with all of this,
That's why I think 55 is a weird number, but
I suspect we're not gonna have any trouble hitting it. I
Yeah,
think that if we are, I think if we are getting to the end of February and we are not anywhere close, then
We can
we,
keep
we,
room
we can huddle
315.
it.
Yeah.
you can do it right here in this room.
Well, no, this is not so commodious as we should like.
Oh, good question. When is it planned for? I see in the chat.
It is Thursday, March sixth,
Yes,
from 6:30 to 9 PM.
hope we haven't been missing other things in the chat too. I just saw that pop up.
Well, see, you know how to read. This is helpful. And joining us now for the next item on our agenda is our community partner, Ariel Stella Holbrook Smith of Harlem Health Initiative of the CUNY Graduate School of Public Health. Yeah?
Yes, yes, wow, it's a long name, so I'm yes, so hi everyone, thank you, and I hope that you're all having a great evening. It sounds like a great discussion that you're having thus far. So I work with the Harlem Health Initiative at the CUNY School of Public Health and Health Policy. Basically, what we do is supporting our community-based partners with capacity building efforts, technical assistance, which looks like a range of things. In the capacity that I'm joining with you today, we have been discussing a community needs assessment in collaboration with the task force. And so I've had conversations with John Martin and with Carmen about how we might begin to build that out, hopefully in collaboration with CBs 10 and 11, right?
Yes,
And so Carmen, thank you for providing all of those links to previous surveys. That was very helpful.
thank you, Carmen.
You're welcome.
So I was able to take a look through those. Let me actually start from the beginning. So in terms of the goals and the purpose of the needs assessment, it really is to take a look at what kind of supports are in our community for LGBTQ plus and same gender loving folk in Harlem. Understanding where there are disparities in those support systems, and just generally what folks are experiencing and how we can better serve the community. What we talked about in our discussion, John Martin, we had a couple of main buckets. I'm very much interested in hearing all of your thoughts on the items that we came up with and what things that you all might be interested in learning more about. In terms of items to consider, we definitely want demographic information about age, how people identify in terms of gender, sexuality, socioeconomic status. I saw some interesting stuff in the surveys that Carmen shared about household size. I also saw some interesting things about relationship status. So if we want to explore that, that could be very interesting. And also something that was mentioned in the surveys that Carmen shared in regards to zip code, because we do want to obviously focus on folks who are living in Harlem, but how long folks have lived in Harlem, which might provide some interesting thoughts around generational experiences. Also considering that there are a lot of folks who like moved to Harlem, who haven't been living in Harlem and maybe have a different experience. Or from those who have been living in Harlem for longer periods of time. And then we also want to take a look at health and wellness. So for example, what are the priority health needs or wellness resources that folks are accessing? What resources would they like more of? I loved that in Carmen, the surveys that you shared, you also asked about trust in providers, which I think is a big thing. Access to medical care, access to mental health counseling, access to insurance, I think is a big one. Housing status, I think was also important because we do know that folks in the LGBTQ plus and same gender loving community do face disproportionate rates of homelessness. And that leads to a lot of other health consequences and health outcomes. I also appreciated the question on, do you know your HIV status? We don't have to ask folks what their HIV status is, but but just knowing your HIV status, I think is important. We also wanted to ask about safety/violence. There was a question about, like, do you feel comfortable being an out and open SGL/LGBTQ plus person when you are in Harlem? There are a number of questions that we can also ask about that depending on how we want to approach the safety/violence question. And then we do want to also ask about social supports. So I'm thinking about this in two ways. One, I'm thinking about this in terms of like community resources that people access, like what are the resources that they go to, what resources do they seek out? But also thinking in terms of like the people that you have around you. Do you feel like you have community, accepting community? Do you feel like you have friends and family? Do you feel like you have, even beyond that, like chosen family, support from your church, any type of like social community that we can think of? So I am excited to begin building out the survey, but I do want feedback on what I just mentioned in terms of the topics and items for the assessment tool. In terms of the actual modality, we have been thinking Google Forms just because that's easy to manage and easy to distribute. And a lot of people have Google accounts. We don't have to collect those Google accounts necessarily. But if we do want to have an optional email segment, just in case we want to follow up with folks, that's an option, but it can be a totally anonymous survey as well, which I think would be helpful. It also doesn't have to be super long. Carmen, in the surveys that you shared, I noticed that they weren't super long, and I love that because people do not like a long survey.
Right.
Yeah.
The health and wellness survey was a little long. I mean, you asked about fast food consumption and the three factors most impacting well-being, which I think is a really good question.
That was a great question. Yeah.
So that's, yeah, one that we might wanna duplicate.
I liked that one, and I liked the
The list,
categories
yeah.
where people can select the top three
But
priorities.
I think it's one that would get people's attention
Mhm.
because it offers them space to consider,
Yeah,
you know, including a list of issues,
right,
health and wellness issues, yeah.
yeah. So what are the thoughts? If any?
So I'll just throw one out on Google Forms, that's kind of interesting. You can make it anonymous, but if they provide their email, they have the ability to go back, if you allow them to revise. So that means what I said today and what I decide next week, I might change. So as long as they use their email, they can reach back in again, because it acts like an ID. But once it's anonymous and it's submitted, it's done.
Okay.
Just kind of as a note, so also I do the coordination for Sector Beyond the precinct. There is sort of a domestic violence issue, and it's funny, because on Common Avenue, that's kind of like our biggest issue is domestic violence.
IPV.
Yes.
Intimate partner violence.
Yes, and it's kind of interesting, it's like, of all the things, and they're like, that's it. It's not robbery, it's not that, it's same sex, or it could be either, but they're like, it's domestic violence.
Wow.
Yeah, but that also can include roommates. Right, so that's the hard part to pull apart.
And you thought living on Convent Avenue was cushy.
Mhm.
That's important too, actually, and there are definitely ways that we can ask that. An immediate thought that I have is that if something comes up in the survey, do we want to also have some resources, maybe at the end or something, or like
Yes.
maybe when we share the survey, there's also a link to resources. I think that might be helpful.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yeah. And in terms of a question, started to come to mind. Where we're talking about safety, and violence. We might want to figure out how to frame a question, do you feel safe in your home? Something along those lines, because not everybody does necessarily. And particularly if the survey were anonymous, people might
Yeah.
feel okay about answering that question honestly. You know,
Agreed.
these are considerations, okay. Any other thoughts?
I think this is something we might have talked about in the previous month. I'm not sure if it was in any of the surveys you already looked at, but something along the lines of, here's a list of organizations which have these, have you heard of, been involved in?
It's nice.
Just so that we can all kind of know our reach and where we stand with it.
That would be great. Sure. If there are organizations that you'll all work with or work closely with or are familiar with, things that you either want to recommend or just, again, see how far the reach is, definitely include that both in the survey and in whatever resource list we put together.
It's sort of like a checkbox thing, like you're gonna list them and they could do a.
Yeah, and they can do it, they can do a checkbox.
Cause then we're also secretly telling them.
Yeah, that's true, that's
Yeah.
true. Cause then people can look it up too, like if they haven't heard of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like hopefully if this survey happened a year later, then maybe.
Um,
I'm gonna look briefly at our minutes from a couple months ago to see if there's anything else that
say again, I'm sorry.
I'm gonna look briefly at our minutes from a few months ago to see if there's anything else that we discussed before that.
That might be appropriate or pertinent, okay, great. In the old Black and Latino LGBTQ Coalition COVID survey, something that I thought was interesting for our consideration, was, Carmen, we had, in which of the following areas would you like assistance, was a question,
Yeah.
with a list.
Oh, yeah.
Food access, housing assistance. You know, and we could say in which, if any, of the
Yeah.
following, food access, housing assistance, health services, mental health services, childcare, education, financial, employment.
It's just checkboxes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
precisely.
Yeah, it's easier to
Precisely.
work with checkboxes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, things that people mightn't have thought of on their own, if they see them, they might respond to.
That's true.
Also, in terms of, we're talking about quality of life. So beyond services, even, what other kinds of community resources that, other communities within the community have access to and may take for granted that are absent? You know, like, I'm talking about, clubs, bars,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, social establishments.
Are you thinking like transportation, like something like fare at a structured differently? So fare is the program that comes out of HRA where the MTA fare is reduced by 50%.
Oh, reduced fare.
Yeah,
program.
reduced fare.
Uh-huh.
Historically, I think like under HASA and stuff, it was the infamous round trip cards that were given out for when somebody
Single
needed
trip.
service,
Yeah.
yeah. But I don't think that exists anymore.
No, I was thinking about
You're thinking commercial.
social,
Okay.
Yeah.
places for where we can convene socially
Like
in our neighborhood.
Yeah. Third space.
What'd you call it?
a third space.
Yes, okay, right.
Yeah.
Do you want to share with that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's like a great explanation, but like, I think it's like a list, as like a list of 5, like first being like, is your home, second is your workplace. Third space kind of exists as like a like meeting area where like it's, you know, it's free, you gather, you know, the idea is to like be around community, and it's a lot of people, you know, have work, have homes. And then I think like 4 and 5 are like considered like restaurant, like considered like place to be. But like the like lack of third spaces like everywhere, but especially like in New York is what really hurts a community, because it's like you don't have like somewhere to gather. And that's why a lot of people's third spaces are online.
Yeah, yes.
But there does have to be a point where like you have to like go out.
And,
Not in like the.
Yeah, yeah,
No, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Cause I do be online.
Yes, yeah.
and even if you don't have to,
Yeah,
there should be spaces available to you,
yeah,
Mhm.
you know? Yeah,
Yeah. There's places where people can just be, that's not,
yeah. It's like,
yeah, that
you
is
have,
home.
you have to buy something or
Yeah,
like, you
yeah.
know. It's like, you know, limited entry, like not exclusive, like,
Right.
yeah.
right,
Yeah.
good thinking. Okay, this is good, this is helpful.
Yeah.
So where are we in this process? We said that, in terms of projections for our timeline, that, well, we were ambitious, that we would wanted, I think, to conceive the tool by February. Yeah,
That is what we said. When is the next? meeting?
fourth Thursday of
Oh, okay, consistent,
February, yeah.
consistency, okay, great. Well, I am happy to work on a draft of the survey tool, and then I can share that with you, hopefully you can share that with everybody.
Okay.
Just to get feedback. And additionally, if there is anybody else that you feel like should have eyes on it, then we can share that out and get feedback and revise.
Great, and I left a message for Victor, beyond, he did outreach to, I forget who, but at community boards 10 and 11.
Okay.
And, he emailed them and pitched the idea of the collaboration around, same general and LGBTQ community needs assessment survey. But we haven't heard back from them yet, so I'll follow up on that to see, you know, cause they may wanna, you know, whether or not they wanna put their eyes on it. I would just assume we could create the tool
Yeah.
and have them join us in the dissemination.
Mhm.
Because once you set up the Google form, it's really easy to modify.
Oh, yeah.
So that could even, you can even throw that out as draft and just kind of
Yeah,
play around with
And
it.
tweak it.
It's
Uh-huh.
very
Oh,
easy
yeah.
breezy.
for sure.
So if you don't even like the way it flows, it's really easy to modify.
Good,
Yeah,
cause it should be really user friendly.
right.
Yeah,
And if we have, and how we needed to, I don't remember where we left off in talking about how we would disseminate it, like if we would have people on the street, like buses,
Yeah.
people, you know.
I mean, that's certainly an option. Another thing is, so in the past, when I have done a survey, we also work with small businesses in case people wanna keep a flyer in there.
Shun you again, in the window.
If you want to, which, I mean, maybe be selective about the small business, the climate that we're in is very tricky right now. Or if there are events that are going on, you can like have a flyer there.
Right,
And also,
and certainly online.
certainly
Yeah.
online
Yeah,
newsletters,
online's the
Yeah.
easiest lift.
again, sharing with community-based organizations.
Right.
that, either work with SGL-LBGTQ plus people or like do adjacent work, like, for example, if there are folks who work with like medical services or work with housing services, things like that, you never.
Right.
Probably also use various elected officials and their lists, they
Yeah.
Yeah.
contacts.
Yeah.
Who are the homos in your district?
I guess that's also the challenge of, with our community of doing it on the street.
Yeah.
There's some element of,
Excuse me, are you a homosexual?
Yeah.
I was wondering, can you just put a flyer of a distinctive color with a distinctive design and a QR code and get small businesses to put that in the window?
That is what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
So it's not super explicit, because everything would be linked to the QR code.
Yeah.
That's a smart idea.
I was thinking QR code, yes.
Okay.
Actually, not like a whole printed survey, but only because people are watching by with their phone. Most people can scan a QR code,
Yeah,
so.
Yeah,
Well, most young people.
Yes, actually, I'll say that.
So Martin, you go to a restaurant now, it's QR code.
Well, no, I know that.
Yeah,
I also know that boomers, are reticent to scan
Right.
QR codes.
Yeah.
Valid point.
Certainly, as they come and go.
Yeah.
In a restaurant where they're hungry, they may grit their teeth about it, but if they're hungry, they will scan the QR code. But where you're talking about this kind of,
yeah, so you might lose some
Initiative.
folks that are reticent, okay.
right,
Cause I was even thinking Link NYC. The difficulty with Link NYC is once it pops up, it's not enough time necessarily to grab the QR
right,
code, but there would have to
it's
be
15 seconds.
another way to approach it. Like, could it be to a website or something?
Yeah,
What would that website be?
well, I don't know if you have a website that you want to house it on, but you could also do like the link.
Yeah.
We could
Yeah.
ask, say it again,
We could use a bit.ly link, like a shortened link
A
that
short,
is just
right.
like bit.ly/CB9 needs assessment, I don't know, well, like something
okay.
Yeah.
that's like easy to remember, so. if-
And CD9 might permit us to use the CD9 website.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't see why they wouldn't.
Yeah.
It's a CD9 initiative,
Yeah.
after all.
Mhm.
yeah,
But Bitly is good too. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Clayton, can you rename a bit link?
Yeah.
You can rename it to like survey,
Mhm.
okay,
I think it's kind of like the bit in there, but like the stuff after you can.
right.
I mean, at minimum, you could always make another bit that points to your freedom.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering
true.
if
And
one linking to the other, where
Yeah.
ultimately you can create something that's catchy that would link to the bit link,
Mhm.
because the
Yeah.
bit link is a bit cryptic.
Yeah, they're.
It's a place to play around it, okay.
Did we get any takers from the student disposition?
Yeah, I'm gonna ask the Office of Experiential Learning once again.
Okay, okay.
I think the students are still
And intercession mode,
kind of, yeah,
yeah, yeah,
so I'll check back in.
okay.
Either way, we'll move forward, but. Yeah, there's a student who's also interested in contributing to the project, because I work closely with the graduate students, so usually they are pursuing their master's in public health. Or. Actually, no, usually it's master students, I don't really work with the doctoral students, but, yeah, so if there's an interested student, then I will let you know. and
Okay.
it's to them as well.
Very good. Thoughts?
Sounds
That's great.
excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah, sounds good.
this is exciting and good.
So will we hopefully be able to have the survey prepared by the March event that we're.
Yeah.
Oh,
That'd be really good.
yeah, that would be really
Wait, what is the
cool.
March event?
Uh,
Oh, is
The
that the
first-
March 6th event?
first,
Yeah.
first
Ah,
Thursday of March, the
yes.
6th.
That's reasonable.
Right, in fact, you posted it for us. We're gonna screen Paris is Burning at the Forum Columbia University.
Great, great.
And, including, a panel of house and ballroom community, intergenerational panel of house and ballroom community folks.
Okay,
Yeah.
wait, I'm excited.
Now you're at 58, you've gone over 55.
Good. This is good.
Okay.
So maybe before next month's meeting, you can send out a draft bit, and maybe John Martin and I can take a look at it before the meeting, and then we can finalize it at the meeting, and then have it be ready to roll out in March.
Yes,
Yes.
yes?
Yeah.
No. Oh, no, thank you, I couldn't.
Yeah, we have time to look at it and share it if you want other eyes on it, and, yeah.
This is great.
And they're brilliantly simple, I mean, with the forms, you can even split pages, and do you think it'll flow better?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
yeah, make it very user friendly.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question? Are you looking to gather like more like qualitative data, like, testimonies and quotes, you're looking for like, things that you can kind of convert into numbers and like, statistics?
Actually, I will convert to you on that. In terms of whether you want to veer more towards like quantitative or qualitative data. In terms of like, and we can always do a mix.
Yeah.
I've just want to prioritize what you all are.
Qualitative is easier
I
in
love
terms of, you know, in terms of analysis,
Yeah.
you know, and, oh, yes, something that we meant to ask you, Carmen, was, what kinds of responses you got for the Harlem Pride, surveys, and, you know, what you learned. Last
When you say the Harlem Pride survey, are you referring to the one that's the mostly demographic one?
Talking about the health and wellness survey, and the demographic survey, yeah.
Okay. Well, in terms of health and wellness, it was interesting. Most of the respondents felt like they had what I would call sufficient care, given their descriptions. Only a marginal amount were disgruntled. And I think that's owing to at least the constituency that we have and the services we provide year after year, or the exposure we provide to a slew of service providers at our event. I think that they are very well keyed into the resources that are available to them. So we were a bit surprised at that response from the health and wellness. Some of the things they wanted to see would be better outlets for food. And I think that'll probably change now that we have the Trader Joe's. A lot of people like that over Whole Foods. They feel like Whole Foods is a bit more expensive. In terms of the demographic survey, I mean, it's mainly demographics. So we parse out for Harlem-based zip codes. So, you know, we got that. The bulk of our constituency is like 26 to, and I'm not looking at the data chart, but just from what I remember last year, 26 to actually about 54. So we have that, you know, that 30-year right in the middle. We don't really have a lot of youth, and we have a handful of seniors, but our bulk is that 26 to like 50, 55, 54. Education wise, most have undergraduate degrees. So we kind of have a interesting collection here in Harlem. But again, I think it goes back to the resources that people know they can avail themselves of. And also could be due to recent transplants in terms of gentrification. But the two ethnic demographics that were the highest, not surprisingly, African American and Latino. But, you know, the whites are coming up with a close third, followed by Asian Pacific Islanders. So it's some real interesting um grab, and it'll be interesting to see what this wider survey gets, because it's
Yeah.
going to be a much broader audience than what we're usually addressing, which is basically our Harlem audience, and then, you know, more specifically our constituency, which we, you know, we like to think is all Harlem, all of Manhattan, but it's really those that attend our events,
Right.
you know. So it'll be interesting to see the results from this broader survey.
Well, indeed it is broader. Because we're talking about 9, 10, and, well, 9 and potentially 10 and 11. Districts. Along those lines, if you don't mind sharing, if you remember also, about how many respondents were there?
I think we had about 5,000 to 6,000.
Really?
Let me see.
That's great. That's great.
That's major.
That would be huge.
Whoa, okay.
So that's why
Well, then
I asked,
maybe we,
because, okay,
Okay.
that's why I asked, because I used to do, surveying and constituent work for Chris Richardson Jordan at MCB9, and going through qualitative data is like really fun, and it's like really easy to like see what people are saying when you hear what people are saying, but going through like 400 responses versus like 4,000 responses and gets really hard, and then it can be a little difficult to summarize like what everyone is saying like in their own voice. So like maybe if you did like on a scale of like 1 to 5, you know, 1 being like, you know, not at all satisfied versus like 5 being like super satisfied, and then like give space like at the bottom for like an optional, like, you know, elaborate please, I think that'd probably be like really helpful, and then you could like glean statistics from that, and then,
Yeah,
you know, put that into use, you know, and so on, so on, so on.
yes.
Well, I
I-
think part of what it is our volunteers, we have a specific group that just pursue people during the event to get the sponsor, to get the surveys, and then we give them like a little sticker. They don't really get entered into any prize, but maybe we should try that. But we have about, over the course of the day, 22,000 people according to the NYPD that are there. So,
Right.
you know, it's only about, you know, 20%.
That's a huge response rate,
Yeah.
20%.
Very big response.
Yeah.
That's super
But we kind of
impressive.
have,
In fact,
we have them in like a pool, so to speak, that 12th Avenue. Hi, have you done the survey? We got, and
we
instead of
corral
pencils,
them.
we used and yeah, we do. We harass them. And we used to have paper and golf pencils. Now we walk around with tablets that don't have to be online to take the data. So it's real quick. They can tap, 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 submit.
Okay.
So, you know, it's not,
See?
then we have it in
Yeah.
our LinkedIn,
Yes, yes.
and we also send it out to our email list. So those are just the targets that we get. So I'm still looking for last year's, hold on, I'm in my little Google Drive.
And we're now considering including a list of service providers at the end of the survey. We can refer back to Harlem Pride in compiling that list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we do it. If you visit our website, you'll see our Pride guides. And on our
Yes.
Pride guides, all the vendors are listed. So, you know, you could just grab from there, or I can send you, you know, because we have a document before we create the PDF. I can send you that, but it doesn't have like all their individual contact information. That's a whole nother,
But that's easy enough to
yeah,
access.
the names. They
Right.
can Google and get,
Right.
you know, the details. And then additionally, you know, the comptroller's office publishes a LGBTQ guide. It's both online and a physical book. So you could grab that as well, or at least link them to it. And that's even broader because it covers all 5 boroughs. It's the LGBT guide, but are you all aware of that resource?
No.
Let me see if I can put the link in the chat for you really quickly.
Carmen, can I ask how long was the survey running for?
I think we usually send it, you know, the big scoop is the day of, but I think
Yes.
we send it like early May. So we've got 2 months
Through
of
the end of
filing.
June. Early May through the end of June.
Right, because our event is always the last Saturday of the last full weekend of June, and the full
June.
weekend being that there's a Saturday and Sunday together.
Well, that's impressive, young woman.
Well, we try, but we do harass them.
You got results though.
But something that's brilliant about it, is that you can get away with harassing people because you have a captive audience. You know, while it's outdoors. It's 12th Avenue from north of 125th to 138th Street.
Right.
So people are there
Yeah.
for Harlem Pride. And if Harlem Pride is approaching you to gauge you about
Right.
your interests and experience, what are you gonna do?
So,
Right.
Yeah.
And it's quick. We have our little mini iPads, and that's why, you know, the Harlem Pride demographic survey, it's like 15 quick questions. That's why I asked which one were you talking about. The health and
Right.
wellness, we didn't have that same feedback. We didn't have that same response.
Level of response.
Right.
Well, how much,
right.
okay, so what kind of response was there to that? Because we're combining both demographic and quality of life,
Okay.
or health and wellness.
That one we sent out, and we also had it in our link tree last year. And we did it with our health and wellness summit. So let me just see if I can grab that from here. Let's see.
He's a beast.
Carmen, can I ask a quick question? The sticker that you gave to the person that responded, what did the sticker say?
Oh,
Sticker-
it just got like a little check, and it says I completed the survey. It's like a
Okay.
round sticker, and people
It's
just
like
like to
I
have
voted.
something.
Yeah, I like that idea.
You know, it's just a roll of stickers. We tear some off. Here's some for you, volunteer. Here's some for you, and it'll fit. You know, like right on the back of your hand, and it is just like a. I think one has a clipboard with a check, and just says I completed the survey in like a little circle.
Right.
Basic white background. I think it's a blue circle, black check, black text. I forgot what we ordered. We ordered a whole lot of them, so it's
She
been around
remembers
for a
the
while.
design.
Yes.
This big super, because we're like, we're gonna use it for a while. You know, it's cheaper to buy bulk sometimes.
Indeed.
The health and wellness survey. Okay, hold on. Now, our health and wellness survey was held at, not survey, but summit was held at the Dwyer. And this
Which
is,
is a relatively small community space in CB 10, 123rd.
Dwyer Center.
Yeah, off of St. Nicholas, yeah.
mm-hmm. And for that, we got a small amount. We didn't have a big response from the link tree. And from the event, we got like 25. And that's basically everybody that attended the event.
Gotcha.
So that,
Okay.
you know, it's relative. It's just when we have pride and everybody's there, it's easy. We usually try to have at least 10 volunteers. And if they see the sticker, that's another thing. If they see the sticker, they know not to go to that person. So it's a little efficient, more so than just putting it out there, because then you're face to face. So
And people who haven't done the survey, who see other people with the sticker, might be inclined to get a sticker.
right.
by doing the survey.
So it's
Yeah.
kind of like
Right.
what you call it, like when you have all the fish in the I forgot
Fish
what,
in a barrel,
yeah, that it's like that.
right, like a captive audience,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I was saying, you know, in our meeting with Deborah Levine and you
Ariel Sella?
Maria Stella. I want to get it right. I'm a teacher. I like to get the names.
Ariel Sella.
Aria Stella. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I like to get the names correct. Um, I would love for us to share it because then we don't have to replicate it so much. It might be a little longer, but you notice the one that we use specifically is just demographic, like, you know, income, ethnicity, sexual orientation, gender identity, education. I think there's,
Sexual identity,
yeah, I think I mentioned that.
you
And then
did,
there's HIV status. Do you know? Not what it is, but do you know
Right.
what it is?
mhm,
Just a
mhm.
yes or no, because you know, sometimes people don't want to answer that, but it basically just asks, do you know what your status is? And when was
That's
the
right.
last time you got an HIV test? I think it's broken down to like 6 months, a year, don't remember. Simple, quick questions. That's also part of why that particular survey is a bit successful.
So you'd like for us to share our survey with Harlem Pride?
Yeah, because I mean, if you're gonna if you're looking for your catchment, then why not get these fish in the barrel?
We'll see, we might.
He's being catchy about it, yeah.
Well, let me know what you all decide. You know,
Thank you, Carmen. You're a
You're
rare and
welcome.
beautiful gem as ever.
thank
All
you.
right. Any other questions?
No, and then what we do, like the demographics, we put it in our sponsorship packet. So, you know, does double duty. So our sponsors know who they're talking to.
Splendid. Wonderful. All right, any other old business? Any new business?
Hi, sorry, can I interrupt really quick?
No, I'm afraid not.
Oh my God.
Yes, of course you may, yes.
Hi, You guys were talking about the promotion of the Paris's burning screening, and I'm not sure
Yes.
if I misheard heard, but was there something said about contacting Shen Yun for like,
No.
okay,
We were just talking about the fact that you see their posters all over the place.
Mhm.
So
oh, okay.
that's it.
The
Yeah.
marketing.
Okay, yeah, 'cause I was gonna
is
say, like-
ubiquitous.
Yeah, because they're like a known cult, so I was like, oh, let me tell them not to do that. Okay, yeah, thanks for clarifying.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
We appreciate that.
Is it Crisco?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that
Sure thing.
heads up. All right, then, do I hear a motion for an adjournment? Motion to adjourn? Okay, second. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
right,
you so
thank you.
much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Now this is when we should do the whole Festivus type of thing. I got a problem with you people. Okay, so,
It said recording is stopped, yes?
yeah.
Okay.